Hi, everybody. Welcome back to my LinkedIn Lives. I'm Jasmine Navarro, certified wellbeing expert, working in educational institutions and companies, supporting family wellbeing challenges. And as you know, every week I interview different experts who make a difference. And today I'm super excited to be interviewing Marnie. Hi, Marnie.
Hi, Jasmine. Thank you so much for having me.
No,
So a little
thank
bit about me.
you.
Oh, you go.
That's okay. Sorry, no, I was just going to say thank you so much for coming on. And yes, please tell us about yourself and what you do.
Yes, so I'm a memoir mentor, midwife, whatever you want to call me. And my company is Your Memoir, which I set up in 2011. And since then, I've been helping people to write and publish their life stories in a variety of ways.
Wow, that sounds incredible. And yeah, there's so many things I want to ask you. We'll dive straight into the topic today. So I love this title as well. So why everybody should write a memoir. Can you tell us why, and why you chose that title for today?
Yeah, because I always say to people, if you've never thought about writing a memoir and you get to the end of your life and it's never crossed your brain, that's sad for me because I know the benefits it can bring, but it's okay. But if you have thought about it, you don't want to get to the end and be laying on your deathbed thinking, I knew there was something I meant to do. So I chose this title because I just want to encourage everyone to think about it and think, is this something I want to do? Yes, it is. I'm going to make it happen. Or is this something I want to do? Nah, then that's absolutely fine. But I have seen the benefits to people because it's such an exercise in self-awareness. So if you're doing like a business memoir, obviously it really encourages you to think deeply about what it is you do and how you can impart your knowledge and your inspiration. But if you're writing a memoir that's about a personal experience, something you've overcome, been through, then it's just an incredible way of making sense of and understanding your life and your experience.
No, that's true. And you can learn so much when you write things down, can't you? Like so much. I
Yeah,
mean,
there's an expression, I think it is, I write so I know what I think. I forget embarrassingly who said that, but it's perfect. Every writer knows that.
exactly. So what should, I know you did mention a few examples, but so
Mm.
what should be included in a memoir? Like, is there a list of things that have to make it so it's a memoir? Like what needs to be included?
Yeah, so the definition tends to be with autobiography, that's the story of a life from cradle to grave or where you are now. Memoir, the definition is often a story from a life. So you select something, whether it's an amazing adventure you've had or some kind of trauma that you've experienced and learned from, maybe an illness or a loss,
Oh,
or it could be something very small and imperceptible, like a theme such as you want to write about belonging or family or love or acceptance or peace. So but you may not know what you're writing about when you start. You just, some people have a very clear idea. Some people, I just say just dive in, just throw the stone into the pond and follow the ripples and see what happens. So that's the sort of traditional definition. As far as what goes into it, I have lots of ideas and can help people when I'm working with them. But what I do say is, let's not make it paint by numbers. Let's not make it formulaic. It's an art after all. And so just, get involved with the process, see what occurs, and, really see what's going to come forward, see what's going to come out.
so why don't you suggest everybody should write an autobiography?
Because my business is called Your Memoir.
Yeah, exactly. So why? Yeah, that's fine.
As I
Yeah,
could have said, I do. To be honest, I use the term memoir as a catch-all. I work with lots of people on their autobiographies.
okay.
It's not just at, not everybody has to make their writing public. That's very important. Sometimes it's just for you. Sometimes it's just for your family, what we might call a legacy document. So yes, I work with people doing autobiographies, writing their whole life in sort of chronological order, a lovely record. And,
Okay.
but yeah, so I just chose the word memoir because that's
Sure. Okay, that makes sense. Yeah. Okay. Tell us a bit about your story. Like, what made you get into this line of work? I mean, it sounds absolutely fascinating, and I love writing, and I know how powerful and therapeutic it is. But tell
yeah.
us about what made your story? Yeah.
So I was a journalist. After I graduated, I, did various things, and then I was looking through the paper one day and saw an advert for a trainee reporter on my local paper and thought, yep, I can do that. So I started in journalism. I fell in love with it, in particular going round to people's houses, having a cup of tea with them and listening to them, really listening and really, following where they were going and excavating and being really curious and asking the questions, because it's such a privileged position to be able to ask people things. And then I continued in my journalism career. And then after about 7 or 8 years, I did a story that was a double page spread in the Sun about the soldier that was injured in Afghanistan. And my husband, who'd already written many books by that time, said, I think this could be a book. And long story short, it did become a book. And so it'd gone from a 1,200 word double page spread to a 96,000 word memoir. And it's that old thing, once the mind has been expanded by a great idea, it cannot return to its original dimensions. And I just love the experience so much. Plus, having progressed from local journalism to national, I kind of got further away from people doing interviews on the phone, etc. But once I was doing this book again, I was doing this book for the first time. I was, up at the guy's barracks, in and out the tank, feeling what it was like to be driving it, talking to, talking to the soldiers, surgeons, his nurses, his OTs, everybody, so that I could slip under his skin and write as if I was him. And it was so satisfying, and it was such an immersive and wonderful experience. So that was really what took me down this path. And then I realized that actually the types of books I'm drawn to reading are memoirs, and I thought, this is actually what I love.
Wow. And why was it so satisfying, do you think?
Because 2 reasons. One, you could really go into detail, what formed this person, why they became a soldier, why they were able to cope with the injuries they had in the way that they did. So really looking into, your origin story, what forms you, reforms you. That's what I find fascinating. But more than that, it was the intimacy but also the creative control. When you write an article for a newspaper or a magazine, I would read my interviews back to my interviewees, which not everybody does. It's not always the way, and they would approve it. But then perhaps an editor or somebody at the magazine or newspaper would just change it a little bit, and then the interviewee would be upset because they've been portrayed in a certain way. But when you write a memoir, yes, if you have it published, there's going to be discussions with editors, but ultimately you have the say. And also, when you write a memoir, there's no comment section underneath your story. Yes, people will leave you all kinds of reviews, but you don't have to read them. But it's hard to persuade people when they've been featured or in a newspaper not to look at the comment section.
Yes, it's like freedom. It's like, it sounds like value freedom and authenticity.
Ownership of the story, saying this is me, this is how I see things, this is what it's like to be me in this world.
Wow. So, okay, no, that sounds absolutely fascinating. So, what was I going to say? I've just lost track. We were just talking about
and I do that all the time.
Now I just lost track what I was going to say. Yeah. How do you work with people then? So, for example, if imagine I want to write something, like how, like, what's the process?
Yeah. So say you came to me and you said, I want to write a book about my experience as a well-being coach. And I want you to ghostwrite it for me. I'd say, okay, great. And we'd have, a big chat about, what you want to achieve, who your audience is, what you want to say. And then we just make our way slowly through, me interviewing you, transcribing those conversations, editing them until we have the book. But quite often people come to me and they've started writing. So then I'll be editing. So I'll go through the various scenes or chapters that they're sending me, and I'll send it back and say, oh, Jasmine, can you expand on this? I need some more emotion here. Could you give me more context here? But oh my goodness, what did your mum say about that? Just come back with the questions on behalf of the reader, because you can be mysterious or enigmatic in a memoir, but you don't want to leave the reader with annoying questions. You don't want them to go off on WikiU while they're still in the throes of it. So I can work with people writing for them as a ghostwriter, editing what they're doing, teaching them, because writing is something we learn on the job. It's a practice, it's a craft, and you just need a guide sometimes. And then other ways I work with people is through, writing retreats. People come on writing retreats with me, or I've got these, little videos on my website, hour-long videos on the various topics, structure, planning, etc. And I've also got a year-long course, so I have a small cohort of students twice a year come on board with me, and it's totally sort of personalized. So you would, I'd say, well, where are you at, Jasmine? Where do you want to get to? Okay, let's make a plan. Let's make it happen, because we all know, don't we, that accountability is everything. Having a deadline in human form, which is me, is crucial, because sometimes no matter how much we want to do something, it's so hard to take the time. And I do always say, take the time. We can't make time. We can only take it from what we're already doing.
Oh, I like that. Take the time. I love all of your quotes that you have. That sounds amazing. And how long? I guess this depends on everybody, isn't it? Like, how long would it take to write a book? I'm actually writing a book, and it's funny that we're having this conversation now. So I probably will need help. Yeah. Because I always thought, like, if somebody else, I have actually had somebody else check it for me ages ago, because I started this ages ago. But he wasn't using my voice at all. So he was amazing. He's amazing. But I just said, I would never say that. That's nothing I would say. Like, you've got to change it, or just leave it as it is, So that sort of put me off in a way, because I thought it just doesn't sound like me. So how do you get their voice?
Well, I'm wired that way.
Okay.
I've learned to write, I've learned to edit, and I'm good at both those things. But crucially, I'm wired to be very empathic. I don't have very good boundaries. So I can, almost shape shift. But ultimately, I understand that the voice is the most important element of memoir.
Yes.
Mary Carr, who is a great memoirist and has written a great book on writing memoir called The Art of Memoir, she says that voice is the delivery system. She says more than that, and much more articulately. But, without voice, a memoir fails. It lives and breathes on its voice. So your most important skill as a memoirist is observation, to be observant of yourself and others and the world around you. The most important element of a personal memoir, as opposed to a business memoir, is transformation. But the most important part of the book is voice. And so I understand that it comes naturally to me to listen and never put words in the author's mouth. I mean, sometimes I'll say, oh, so do you mean X, Y, and Z? And if they say, yes, I mean X, Y, and Z, then I'll include that. But that's me helping them excavate what it is that they mean. I can't think that anybody's ever said to me, that doesn't sound like me. That's not to say I get it right first time every time.
Of course.
Yeah. But that is the most important element. And you can be a great writer or an editor or a proofreader or anything, but if you don't have the ability to put yourself in someone's shoes, then you're going to run into problems with some projects.
This was it. And this person was amazing at editing everything, but I felt like a massive disconnect, and I just thought, I'm opening up, and it's not. It's
got to feel like you.
Exactly. What's the point? That's what I said. So that's so everything's on hold at the moment. But how long?
How long does it take?
Everyone's different, aren't they? You could do it in 6 months. You could do it in 6 years, I guess.
So if you're writing a business book and you're very clear and you've got your sort of 12 chapters, I want to write about how I set my business up, why I chose to do these things, and you're imparting knowledge and wisdom and, really galvanizing people to do something, like a how-to or a self-help book. Yes, you can do it in 6 months. But I always say to people, it takes longer than you think. And this is why, because the process of writing, which you'll understand from your own work, the process of writing gives you it's not just that memoir is about transformation. The process of writing memoir is transformative. And I see it every time. just writing about things and thinking about things and working with somebody who's saying, oh, but why did that unfold in the way it did? You know, why do you think you're formed that way? Are you bringing any intergenerational trauma into, you know, there's, you can go so into it, and it's so fascinating that the process changes you. So you think you're going to start out writing one kind of book, but actually the process gives you the gift of helping you to unleash what it is you really, really need to write. So I would say, when people say, how long does it take? I always say longer than you think.
It's so true. It's so true. And the thing is, because I was writing about, I've lived in 11 countries, right? And I was writing about, each country. So each country is a chapter. So of course, but I haven't gone into too much depth because otherwise, I mean, because I think one country could be a book anyway. But that's the thing. The more I was writing, I was realizing that I'm just touching on topics here. I'm not really diving deep, but I'm not sure what I'm trying to ask you here. But it's like, how much depth does it have to be? But I guess it depends how much you want to write, doesn't it? Because you can write forever, actually. It could never end. The book could never end.
Yes, and you can keep perfecting it. You know, you can reach your hand out of your cold dead grave and say, can I just edit that little bit?
Exactly.
But why, what is it that you want to say in this book, if you don't mind sharing?
Oh yeah, that's a good point, actually. Well, the thing is, I'm not actually sure. I know there's a message, but I just figured I will figure it out during the process. I mean, I've written about 50,000 words.
That's fantastic.
There's still more to do. There's a lot more to do, probably. But so I'm not sure. Yeah, I'm not sure. I'm hoping it would just come.
Yeah, and it will if you keep writing. So what I say to people is, it's great to have a plan. You've got your 11 chapters, your 11 countries, but hold that lightly. Just work on each chapter, and and just see where it goes and what wants to come forward. And it may be that you need to think about, a slightly different approach. Who's the book for, and what are you hoping they're going to gain from it?
I know all these questions. To be honest, selfishly, this book was for me.
That's not selfish. That's a wonderful reason to write memoir.
It was just, I just wanted to get everything down to sort of get some clarity and learning about myself, because I've never really sat down. And I thought, plus, I'm going to forget everything as well. I need to write things down, because I think you forget, don't you? And even I've already forgotten so many things. I was like, and I was speaking to friends and they remind me, I was like, oh yeah, quick, write that down before I forget. So, what was your question?
My question was, what is it that you want? Sorry, a bit of fluff, probably a dog hair. What I said to you, I asked you, what is it you want to say? And at the moment, you feel like you just want to record,
exactly,
this very interesting experience that you've had of living in all these countries. So get that all down, then take a break, which you are doing, and then you can just then come back to it with fresh eyes, print it out in a different font, print it out in a little book, just so that you're coming to it with as fresh eyes as you can have with your own work, and then just see how you feel about it then. Those breaks in between drafts are really important for coming to it and
really?
being able to evaluate what it is you're doing.
But I guess, but not too long a break, because I think otherwise you don't go back. I started April 19, you see, and I did the 50,000 words in like a year and a half or 2 years, and then I had the break, then I started again. But
as long as you're doing it, it can take time. We're busy, aren't we? We've got lives, we've got businesses. As long as you're keeping going, and what you can be doing if you're taking time out of writing for whatever reason, the most important thing you need to be doing if you're writing memoir is reading memoir. That's really absolutely essential. Yeah. And I'm always amazed at how many people aren't doing that, because it seems obvious to me, but then things do seem obvious to you if you know them. There's plenty of stuff that isn't obvious to me. So you need to be reading memoir to get the sense of how other people are approaching it. Memoirs like yours, memoirs unlike yours, and listening to them as well in Audible.
But this might sound like a stupid question, but why do we need to listen to other people? Because sometimes because then you might think, oh, I should be doing it like that, and then you're not really listening to your own intuition.
So what I would say is that you have to be because you have to, that's how you learn, by reading what other people are doing. And how can you give your readers, if one is, you know, hoping for readers, how can you give your readers an experience which you yourself have not had? If you read a memoir and you're really moved by it, or inspired, or changed by it, then you want to know how that was done. And yes, that is a common fear, totally, that, well, I'm going to be persuaded, or I'm going to be influenced, but no, as you write yourself to confidence. The more you write, you know, I'm writing, you know, gosh, I've probably worked on more than 300 memoirs. I've probably read 500-600 memoirs, but I never worry that all I'm doing is learning my craft by reading other people. Yeah, I think it's really important. And if Stephen King, who's written a great memoir on writing, says if you don't have time to read, you don't have time to write. And I'm really with him on that, because, well, and then of course, if you're working with a mentor and I'm saying to you things about voice and structure and scene and arriving late and leaving early and the stylistic elements of fiction that we use in memoir, an author won't know what I'm talking about. But you know, if you've been reading memoir, you're like, yes. And it's not just reading memoir, it's watching biopics and listening to podcasts and just thinking about content, what to include, what not to include. How is this story coming across to me? We have to be aware to story. We're trying to make people feel something, and you know, or experience something. It's very important, in my opinion. Others may say differently.
Yeah, no, that's interesting. No, it's interesting to hear your opinion. But then you think, but then it's like, wow, it's a big job then, isn't it? Because then you've got to do all that research and then your own
research. Yeah, there's such pleasure in it.
Then you get stuck.
There's so much pleasure in reading memoir. My goodness. I mean, how many we only get one life, but if you read memoir, you can live as many as you like, you know. You know, but it depends the type of book you're writing. Some people are instinctive, some people are natural writers, communicators like you are, absolutely. And maybe you're just going to be able to do it without reading any memoirs. It's perfectly possible, of course. But you know, yeah, you sound daunted, rightly so. But we don't just want to, I think, we don't just want to produce something. We don't just want to produce a painting. We want to be painters. We don't just want to have a memoir. We want to be memoirists. We want to be paying attention to the world. And you know, for me, that's where the experience is. It's you know, it's a wonderful thing to experience, to write memoir.
Yeah, no, you've convinced me there.
I'll send you a reading list if you like.
Yeah, no, please do. Yeah, no, definitely. And podcast, I do love listening to podcasts as well.
Yeah,
but yeah, definitely, I do love learning. No, thank you, Marnie. So what else would you say to people who, you know, are feeling overwhelmed about writing?
Yeah,
yeah,
it is overwhelming, because we've got all this information up here. We're trying to corral it and bring it down onto the page. So that is the three things that I see memoirists really struggling with: are taking the time, their material, you know, and overwhelm, you know, those two go together. And the third thing is writing about other people, you know, what these people are going to say about what I'm writing about them. But parking that, go on.
No, I was just about to say, but you're not supposed to mention names and years, are you?
Yes, of course. As long as you're not libeling anybody, you're absolutely fine to do that. Yeah, 100%.
Oh, that other person. Okay.
Yeah. You don't want to invade anyone's privacy or libel anyone. But yeah, some people love to, oh, I'm in this book, you know, how I met Jasmine in this country and she's now in this, you know.
You'd have to ask, wouldn't you? Get permission.
No, you don't have to get permission.
Don't you really?
You can change names. You can change names if you feel more comfortable doing that.
Yeah.
And as I say, you don't want to invade anyone's privacy or libel anyone.
No.
That's something worth checking out. But yeah, change names if you want to. That can be a very, you know, dignified thing to do. But otherwise, you can let people know as well if you want to, you know. But what you really mustn't do ideally is send them the chapter and say, oh, let me know what you think, because everybody remembers things differently, and you know that just opens a whole wormhole, can of worms. Yes. So going back to material overwhelm, so you're actually quite lucky because you've got this structure there. You know, you've got your 11 countries. So you know, I just sit down with people and we talk about, you know, I've got this 6-part course on my website that you can buy. I've just launched it actually, and the first session is all about, you know, what success looks like to you. You know, what is it you're setting out to do, and that all ties into structure and planning. And you make a bit of a loose plan, and you know, and you hold lightly to it. So but there's really no way, you know, out. The only way is through. So you just have to write it all down, you know, index it if it helps you. You can use programs like Scrivener to help you organize your material, but you just have to write it all down until you feel like you've written everything, and then the writing begins. That first draft, that's not writing, that's just creating something to work
on. It down so you don't forget, sort of thing. Just writing something. Yeah. Oh wow. No, thanks, Marnie. Okay, so they're the.
Are you daunted now?
No, I'm happy that we had this conversation, because I definitely probably might need your help when I start.
I'd love to help you, of course.
No, thanks, Marnie. So what else? Is there anything else you want to tell us? So you've said about the challenges, what people should do. So it's having a plan. That seems like.
Yes, have a plan. I mean, it depends how you approach any other projects in your life. Some people are big planners. Some people, you know, just, as I say, they just want the experience of writing memoir. So they just dive in somewhere and just follow. There's a, you know, a Japanese writing expression, zuiitsu, called following the pen. So some people just dive in and just see where the story takes them. But quite often people come and they've got an idea of what it is they want to write about, a particular experience. So yeah, we just start somewhere. A very important thing to say is that wherever you start writing is unlikely to be the opening of your book. So don't paralyze yourself by spending 3 months writing what you consider to be the perfect opening chapter, because you'll dent your confidence, you'll waste time, and the chances are by the time you get to the end, you'll have a new perspective and you'll have a whole new idea for the beginning of your book. One thing to pay attention to can be looking into the hero's journey. So if you've got a story that really fits into that, which is an ancient storytelling structure that we innately understand as humans, because this is a very primal thing we're doing here. You know, ever since humans developed language, we have passed on our wisdom to each other, and that's how we've evolved so successfully, because we have communication and we can say, learn from this, don't do what I did. You know.
No, I love it. No, thanks, Marnie.
Oh, you're welcome.
I mean, I could talk to you for ages on this topic. It's so full of wisdom, and it's so interesting hearing your experience and everything. But we have to go because time is up. So can you tell us how people can find you?
Yeah, so my website is yourmemoir.co.uk, memoir, MEMOIR. And of course, I'm on Insta, Twitter, LinkedIn, Facebook, all of those. But you can just contact me via my assistant on my website, and we schedule a no obligation chat about your project, or just have a look around on there. I've got, as I said, these 1-hour videos on a massive variety of topics, from structure, planning, dialogue, scenes, writing about other people. They're just £12 each. And then I've got my 6-part course, which you can buy and do in your own time. And then I've got my year-long course, and my next batch of students are coming in September. And I've got writing retreat in Devon. One I'm planning in somewhere gorgeous with palm trees. So, you know, there's lots of ways that we can work together, and I can help you.
Do you mind putting all of that information on the post?
I will do that.
So then people can just click. It's easier. They can just click on there.
Gladly.
The retreat sounds amazing, I have to say.
Well, Devon or the palm trees, which appeals?
Actually, both. Actually,
yeah, come to both.
I come to no, thanks, Marnie, and thank you everybody who's been watching. If you have any questions whatsoever about writing memoirs or autobiographies, anything, please message Marnie directly or leave a question or comment on the post, and Marnie will get back to you, or myself. And thank you so much, Marnie. It's been an absolute pleasure talking to you. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
No, thank you for coming on, and thank you, everybody. See you next week.